not an easy job turning this country around, turning around the health and safety situation in this country. After almost 30 years in this field, I still find it aggravating, insulting, and maddening that we're still fighting these same battles for a basic worker's right to work in a safe workplace every day. We all know that we've made progress, but that progress has not come easy for workers in this country. I don't have to tell you, but the Steelworkers Union has always been a leader in health and safety. Very heartwarming and inspiring to see such a strong health and safety presence in the steelworkers, and it's very inspiring to see all of you here today. It's also inspiring to see that this is not just a union conference, but also a labor management conference. And I want to say I appreciate the fact, and I've appreciated it even more in the months that I've been in this job, it's seeing real labor management cooperation. And I want to thank the management occupational safety and health professionals out there today. You rarely get the kind of appreciation you deserve for doing a good job. You get very little credit when a workplace actually has a safe day, when nothing burns down or nothing blows up. But I want to tell you that we do appreciate the work that you're doing out there as well. And I want to tell you I particularly appreciate the kind of labor and management cooperation that we've seen, that we're seeing in this conference and that we've seen throughout the steelworkers' activities. When Secretary Solis asked me to come over, she told me she didn't want me to just kind of hold down the fort. The first thing I did was tell OSHA employees, tell the field staff that we were no longer going to have these quotas for voluntary protection programs. We were no longer going to have these quotas for alliances. Their job was to do standards and to do enforcement. And it really was not a matter of cracking the whip by any means. It was really a matter of telling OSHA employees, telling OSHA staff to do what you came to this agency to do. And there's not one person I've met at OSHA that didn't come there because they were dedicated. Every single one of them came there because they were dedicated to making sure that workplaces are safe. And they just want to do their job, and they are doing their jobs. And so I want to tell you that you need to reach out also. You need to reach out and use those resources that are there, because they are there to help you all make sure that the workplaces in this country are safe and that employers in this country actually follow the law and comply with health and safety standards. That is the goal that we want. We want workers and management to be equal partners in developing a safe workplace. With joint health and safety committees, joint incident investigations, full-time union management health and safety representatives, full-time union health and safety representatives, training for the reps and members. This is a model that we need to be repeating across the country. But I know, I spent, as Mike said, 16 years running AFSCME's health and safety program. I know it's possible to get to this point. I also know how difficult it is to get to that point. Very often, unfortunately, it takes a fatality in the workplace to get there, or sometimes it takes a very large OSHA fine to convince managers, particularly, that they actually need to work with their employees to ensure a safe workplace. We're moving forward on the regulatory agenda. There have been a number of standards that were stuck in the pipeline for the last 8 years. We're moving forward hard on those. Confined spaces in construction, cranes and derricks, silica, globally harmonized system for classification of chemicals, so that we can actually start to understand material safety data sheets. And Secretary Solis has also announced a new standard for combustible dust, largely as a result of the devastating and preventable and totally unnecessary explosion in Texas City at the BP plant in 2005. OSHA initiated a process safety management national emphasis program, which we found to be one of the, not only the largest national emphasis program OSHA's ever engaged in, but also one of the most successful. We've received reports from refinery owners and workers that the refinery staff, the refinery owners are actually abating hazards at their sites in anticipation of our inspections, which is very good news to us. If we can get out there and basically strike fear into the hearts of refineries or other workplaces around the country that OSHA might be at your doorstep, or OSHA will be at your doorstep, and get them to fix it before we get there, then that's certainly a victory on our part, and a victory on your part as well. There have been a number of studies, congressional hearings, and that type of thing that have shown, raised serious doubts about the accuracy of injury and illness reporting in this country. And I can't put too much emphasis on the importance of accurate injury and illness records. OSHA uses these numbers to target its inspections, to determine its priorities, and determine what industries and workplaces are not adequately providing for the health and safety of their workers. In other words, accurate record keeping is not just bureaucratic paperwork, it's vital information needed to save lives. One more thing about record keeping. We're also taking a close look at incentive and other programs that have the effect of discouraging workers from reporting injuries and illnesses. These include programs that discipline workers who are injured, or safety competitions that penalize individual workers or groups of workers when someone reports an injury or illness. So I want to underscore this point. OSHA will not tolerate programs of any kind that discourage workers from reporting injuries and illnesses. Right now, the average penalty for a serious OSHA violation is less than $1,000, which I don't think anybody can argue provides adequate incentive to, or adequate disincentive to cutting corners in the workplace. We want to raise the penalties again so that paying an OSHA penalty is not just an unavoidable part of the cost of doing business. We're going to be, again, heading off in many new directions in OSHA. We're going to be doing some exciting new things. If history is any precedent, we may be getting some resistance from some industry associations out there. But I also have been very heartened in this job. I have been talking to a lot of companies, a lot of industry associations that are surprisingly in sync with what we want to do. I mean, they look out in the workplace and they see many of the same problems that we have. They come into my office and they boast about their health and safety programs. They come in and boast about the health and the cooperation between workers and management in their workplaces. They even come in and complain about the fact that, they note the need for some kind of action, some additional action by OSHA on ergonomics issues. There's a lot of ground out there, a lot of common ground out there with a lot of the more progressive elements of the business community. So I've been asking them, and I'll be asking you, as the political waters heat up over health and safety issues as we move forward, we're going to need your help. We're going to need your participation. And I mean your participation not just in OSHA hearings. We need your participation in OSHA hearings. We want to first and foremost issue standards that are very protective of workers. But we also need to issue standards that work. And to know whether they work or not, we need to hear from the workers, and we need to hear from management. They need to tell us what's working and what's not working. We also need your participation in the public debate. When we see newspaper articles that really aren't telling the whole story about workplace conditions, when we see newspaper articles that assume that health and safety fatalities, that worker fatalities are just one of those things, just an act of God, that don't mention that in fact these are not only tragedies, but they're tragedies that came from breaking the law. We need you to speak up. We need you to speak up to the journalists out there who are writing these stories. We need you to speak up to the politicians that don't understand what it's like to be in a workplace, what it's like to work under these dangerous conditions, and many times, unfortunately, what it's like to die or be injured under these dangerous conditions. As much progress as we are able to make, don't be satisfied, all right? We need you to stay on our backs. We need you to keep telling us, to keep coming in and meeting with us and telling us what needs to be done. It's never easy, whether it's a Republican administration or a Democratic administration, to make real progress for workers in this country. And we can't do it alone. I certainly can't do it alone. We can't do it alone in Washington. We need to know that there is support out there, and not just support out there, but an actual movement out there. So don't be satisfied. Stay in touch. Stay involved. And let's hear from you all. Thank you very much.